Good evening and welcome to the news. Prime Minister Hani al-Mulki and visiting Dutch Defence Minister Ank Bijleveld discussed bilateral ties, especially in the defence sphere, and the latest security and political developments in the region. Mulki said the recent regional unrest forced the Jordanian armed forces to be on full alert, safeguarding its borders against terrorists. Jordan, he added, believes that war on terrorism should be dealt with holistically, stressing the importance of eradicating the root causes of terrorism and extremism. Mulki said Jerusalem is a crucial political issue that doesn't only concern Arabs, but Muslims and Christians the world over, and its future should be left to final status negotiations. The Lower House's Palestine Committee has slammed Knesset's preliminary vote to pass a death penalty law that paves the way to execute Palestinians taking part in anti-occupation activities. It said yesterday's motion is a flagrant breach of humanitarian international law and will constitute a war crime if endorsed. The committee's chairman, MP Yahya al-Saud, said the move contravenes Security Council resolutions. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry also denounced Knesset's move, saying the motion is a further Israeli escalation against the Palestinian people and a gross breach of international law and human rights charters. The European Union condemned Israel's preliminary vote as well, saying it opposed the death penalty under all circumstances. On the ground in the West Bank, hundreds of mourners took to the streets in the funeral procession of a Palestinian teen who was killed in clashes with Israeli soldiers. 17-year-old Mus'ab Tamimi, who was shot dead yesterday near the city of Ramallah, was buried in the village of Deir Nizam. After the funeral, clashes erupted between Palestinians and Israeli soldiers. One Palestinian man was wounded as a result and taken to a hospital. The flare in violence in the West Bank is a result of U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. In Syria, at least 30 civilians were killed when suspected Russian jets dropped bombs on a residential area in a besieged rebel enclave east of the capital Damascus. 4 bombs flattened 2 buildings in the eastern Ghouta town of Misraba in an attack that killed around 20 and wounded more than 40 people. Elsewhere in eastern Ghouta, the last major rebel enclave near Damascus, at least 10 people were killed in aerial airstrikes. Jets also pounded Harasta on the western edge of the enclave, where rebels this week besieged and overran a major military base, which residents said the army uses to pound residential areas. The Yemeni army announced retaking nearly 90% of the country's territory from the Houthi militant group. A spokesman for the Arab coalition said the alliance has stepped up its offensive against Houthis and is slowly pushing towards the capital Sana'a. Speaking at a news conference in Riyadh, Colonel Turki al-Malki added that the Saudi-led coalition had recently intercepted another ballistic missile attack by the Houthis. According to UN figures, more than 8,000 people have been killed and 20 million others have been left in desperate need of humanitarian aid since the war broke out in 2015. In Iran, the country's army chief declared that police had already quelled anti-government unrest that have claimed the lives of 21 people so far, but that his troops were ready to intervene if needed. Anti-government protests have swept Iranian cities and towns over the past week over economic hardships. Meanwhile, Russia rejected the U.S. call for UN emergency sessions at the UN Security Council in New York and the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva over Iran's turmoil. The Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov called it harmful and destructive. Severe stormy weather conditions have hit the U.S. and Europe. In the United States, high winds and heavy snow barreled into the northeast coast, shutting schools and government offices, leaving tens of thousands without power and snarling travel as New York's JFK airport halted flights due to whiteout conditions. The storm is the product of a rapid plunge in barometric pressure that some weather forecasters are referring to as a bomb cyclone, which brings fast, heavy snowfall and high winds. Large parts of the UK are being warned to expect flooding as well, as the country feels the sting in Storm Eleanor's tail. Residents of sizable parts of England and Scotland, as well as smaller areas of Wales, were told to take action to protect themselves. In sports, Grigor Dimitrov of Bulgaria saved 2 match points before defeating Australian John Millman 4-6, 7-6, 6-3 to reach the quarterfinals of the Brisbane International. World number 3 Dimitrov, the top seed and defending champion, finished the match in 2 hours and 36 minutes. In the quarterfinals, he will play Kyle Edmund of Great Britain, who defeated South Korea's Chung Ha-yeon 7-6, 5-7, 6-4 in 2 hours and 38 minutes. Roger Federer, playing for Switzerland in the Hopman Cup, beat Jack Sock of USA 7-6, 7-5, denying the US player for the 5th time. Sock ensured the match was played in an entertaining manner for the capacity crowd at the Perth Arena, with both players joking between points. Federer, however, is not light-hearted about winning and was ruthless in taking advantage of a mistake by Sock in the second set. Asked if he had any sympathy for Sock, Federer said the American might win their next meeting, so he was going to enjoy this victory while he could. And finally, the weather outlook. It will be cold, cloudy and rainy with gusty winds expected in Amman tonight. Tomorrow, the forecasted storm, which starts at dawn, will cause temperatures to further plummet, bringing heavy rain accompanied by thunder and lightning and gusty winds of over 80 kilometers per hour in most regions. Amman can expect a high of 7 degrees Celsius and a low of 5. In the Gulf of Aqaba, it will be cold tomorrow with a high of 19, dropping down to 15. Sporadic showers are also expected. The Public Security Department issued a safety warning calling on citizens to exercise utmost caution while driving and traveling between governorates due to heavy fog and rain, and to avoid low-lying plains and valleys. It also called on citizens to closely follow up weather updates issued by the department and to call 911 in cases of emergency. With this, we come to the end of tonight's news. I'm Dara Abu Sham. Thanks for watching. Have a good night and stay safe.